And hello there, everybody. Welcome to the second video for the Helium Down Under video series. This series, whilst it could be beneficial to anybody with helium, its primary audience is more aimed at those in my part of the world. And if you can't tell by the accent, that's down under here in Australia. Or, of course, for our country cousins across in New Zealand or anywhere else in the world that see some benefit in it. So I want to thank you very much for coming on to this video today. I really appreciate you coming in here, and hopefully you get something out of it. If you do get something out of it, I'd love to see the subscriber base go up. So click on the subscribe button and give us a thumbs up if you find any value in the video here today. Okay, let's have a look. The topic of today's, or this particular video is how far can you reach with RF tools? Now, if you've been with helium, whether it's something that you're looking at right now, like all of my brethren over here in Australia, we're just getting started. We don't have any helium hotspots to look at, with the exception of a couple of dormant ones down around Sydney. There's really nothing to look at on our map. But of course, for those across the globe, in the US, Europe, and in China, helium is going absolutely gangbusters, and the map is lit up like a Christmas tree. That's exactly how it's going to be here in Australia before too soon. At this point, it looks like our first helium units will probably arrive sometime around maybe June, possibly July. I suppose it's quite possible it could even be August, but whenever it happens to be, they will start growing here very soon. And given that this is a new opportunity to most of us over here in Australia, and most people getting involved with helium have not got much of a background with radio frequencies or transmitter towers, etc., it can be a bit of a mystery as into how far your signal will actually reach. To help you plan on building a network, if you like, for yourself of hotspots, if you're going to be placing multiple, or maybe it's to be able to leverage off existing hotspots that are in play. So just how far can you go? Now the great thing is that there are a bunch of tools available for us online. A couple of them have been custom built for helium or by helium members. And there is also at least one, there's probably others, but there's one that I've been using for pretty much since day one with helium, which is not affiliated with helium in any way. But get my slide up here. Okay, probably it's got to go without saying here that everything that I talk about on the video here today is simply my own personal views, okay? I'm not a financial advisor, I'm not an electronics whiz, and nor am I a radio expert. So take everything that I present here on this video with a bit of a grain of salt, and don't invest or purchase anything without doing your own research, okay? That's you. A lot of people watched the first video that I put out, and there was even a few questions came from that about looking for me to answer questions. Guys, all I'm going to do is present data, some facts, and my own opinion, and then it's up to you if you take that on for anything at all. But do your own investigation, and don't invest anything in hardware or any cryptocurrencies that you can't afford to lose, and make sure you do it within your comfort level. Okay, so one of the most common questions people ask when they have made the plunge and purchased their own hotspot is, well, how far do they communicate? Do they go? We hear about, don't have them any closer than 300 meters. We hear things that the frequencies that we're using in our LoRa systems here is maybe out to 1 kilometer or a couple of kilometers. I see all people talking about high gain antennas, and it generally seems to be one of the first things that people want to do is go and get themselves a whiz-bang new antenna because it's going to increase their range. Well, in some cases it will. I'm here to tell you in most cases it won't, and I'll demonstrate that here tonight for you. But how far will you reach? Well, it really is how deep is a hole, how far is up, how long is a piece of string. There's a lot of variables, and there's really no easy definitive answer. However, with the tools that are available, what we can do is eliminate some of the guesswork. So we're going to be looking at three of the tools that are available online at the moment. We're not going to be an in-depth dive in this video. It's more of an introduction and just a quick look at the benefits and some of the features that each of the sites use. I do have memberships with all of the sites so that I could have a bit of an investigate around. I've got my own opinion at this point on which one actually suits my needs right now, and it's probably going to be the one that would also suit most Australians right now, given that we don't have much of a helium network to work with. If you're watching this video from the US or anywhere else in the world that does have an established helium hotspot network, then you may find that your preference is different. But the three we're going to be looking at is cloudraf.com, hotspotrf.com, and Helium Vision. It's probably pretty obvious which ones are affiliated with Helium, or when I say affiliated, they're not actually linked to the company in any way, but these are people like myself and like probably anybody watching this video that is already they own a hotspot or they're looking to own a hotspot. Obviously, Hotspot RF and Helium Vision are both systems that have been put together leveraging off the blockchain, and they're very, very customized. But let's have a look. The great thing about using any of these systems is they'll all have some form of benefit to you. They're going to remove the guesswork about how far you are going to hit. It won't be precise, it won't be down to the meter, but it's going to give you a pretty good idea of which hotspots you can hit, what's your range, what should you be working with, which is going to allow you to maximize your return on investment. Because if you are purchasing multiple units or you're looking to position your unit in an area that there are existing hotspots in place, well, you want to make sure before you spend your money on your hotspot or before you place it and then place it in the wrong spot that you're going to maximize that return on investment, maximize your HNT generation. And it's going to allow you to test your own setups, with your antennas. Does it matter if I leave it with just my Helium Miner in the window of my 5-story unit versus putting an 8 dBi antenna on the roof of the complex? Does it make any difference? I don't know. But let's have a look here. Let's have a look at the first one, which is Cloud RF, which is the first system that I discovered when I got interested in helium. And at that point, I believe the other two systems weren't fully released to the public. Cloudrf.com is in fact a website that has been around for I believe many years, and it's focused on radio frequencies right across the band. It's not specialized for helium, it's not specialized for the LoRa network. It is a frequency calculation tool that people in all bands can identify what their range is going to be. Now, with all of the three systems that we'll have a brief look at tonight, all of them offer paid subscriptions, and I'm not going to suggest what you need here, but you've got them on the screen there. You can have your basic plan is $5. I believe that's $5 a month. I'm not sure. Make sure you do your own research before you click the buy button and commit to it. Bronze, silver, gold, etc. What is the difference between the two of them, or rather all of them? Is it's essentially the number of searches that you can do, or simulations if you prefer simulations. It's the number of simulations that you can do. It's also the distance that you can search out from your location. Now, typically with the range that we're working on with LoRa, we really probably don't need to search any further than 20 kilometers out from your location. Whilst it is possible in ideal situations that you will go further than that, especially if a person that might be potentially 30, 40, maybe even up to 50 kilometers away or 30 miles away, but they have their antenna mounted on the top of a 24-story building, and you happen to have your antenna mounted in a very high location, you may be able to communicate with your two miners may be able to communicate just purely because you've got such incredible elevation. But anyway, whichever level you want, I'm not here to tell you which is best. I can tell you right now that I am actually using Cloud RF as my preferred model at the moment. I'll explain to you why, and I'm using the bronze because I wanted to be able to have slightly longer distance. I believe the $5 a month is limited to 5 kilometer radius from your search location, which in fairness is probably going to be enough for most people, especially if you're in a city area. If you're in an elevated location or you've got you're looking to place your antenna really high, then you may want to be able to search further out than that. And if you do, then you would need to go with the bronze or up. The benefits that I see, this is again only my opinion here, is that it has the best maps. I find that the maps are far easier to read, and I believe that they may also potentially be a little bit more accurate. But remember, I'm not a radio expert. That's only my opinion. It could in fact be the worst of the bunch, but in my opinion, it produces the best and easiest to read maps. It's very highly customizable. You get more simulations for your dollar, or for your bang for your buck. So if you get the $5 a month, you can run multiple dozens of simulations. And because I get the 20, I believe I've actually already simulated probably 100 odd simulations, and I'm nowhere near reaching the end. So you definitely get more bang for your buck. But what you don't have with Cloud RF is all of the helium information. There's no hotspot locations. There's no earning credits. There's no nothing on there. And the other disadvantage is that it can be a little bit complex to use until you get used to it. There are a couple of well put together tutorials on YouTube, and that's what I used in order to learn how to use the tool. But that's the one that I prefer. The second one we'll look at is hotspotrf.com, and I will go into each of these at the end of this this presentation here. We'll have a bit of a look around and we'll run a simulation or two. There are a number of tiers here. I've only got the first 3 levels showing on this presentation here, but the great thing is that you can have a free account, which gives you 10 credits, and that allows you to do 10 simulations. Now, the downside to 10 simulations is you're going to go through them really quick. Believe me, I've done it myself. I consequently purchased more credits in order to do more simulations to test this out. But depending on how many hotspots you have, it is still very good value for money, and it has got a world of fantastic information, as you'll find shortly. So the benefits of it does have a trial offer. It does have integrated helium information. It is far simpler to use than Cloud RF. It makes a number of assumptions based on the frequencies that we're working with, and it really generalizes it down to only certain bits of information that you need to provide to the system in order to run your simulation. And the other great thing is that it has an active Discord channel that you can go to and ask for assistance. I've been there with Hotspot RF, and the guys have been fantastic. They're also really great with their emails as well. So communication is really tops with Hotspot RF. And as you'll see when we run this simulation shortly, they do produce a great result. This picture that you're seeing on the screen at the moment is an example of one of the simulations that I did. Heliumvision.com is the last one that we'll look over tonight in brief. It offers some additional features that Hotspot RF does not include, well, at least not at this stage. Like most of these helium tools, or tools that are being built for the helium network, they are a work in progress, and they're constantly improving, just like everything else to do with helium. So consequently, I'm sure that other features will be added to both systems in time. Cloud RF on the other hand, will not likely change. So if you find that if you use it and you don't like it, it's not likely to change. So you're better off going with the other two. As you can see here, there are a number of different levels here as well. It likewise has $5 a month, which allows you to run 10 simulations. And there is a trial offer when you first sign up. So you do, I think it was 7 days. My trial offer finished and I had to renew. I can't recall if it was 7 days or maybe 48 hours, whatever the period. There is a trial. You have a maximum number of simulations that you can run, and some of the information is not available in that trial offer. So these are the benefits. Once again, it does have the trial. It's got the integrated helium information. It's also simple to use. It's very similar to Hotspot RF, and it likewise has an active Discord channel. So communication for the latter two are very achievable. Okay, let's duck out to the website here and let's start having a look around at them. So I have got all three of the tools actually loaded here on my screen at the moment, so you'll be able to see the difference between the screens, and also identify, do you end up with a little bit of anxiety just looking at the number of bits of information that you need in order to use some of them. Likewise, you may suffer a little bit of anxiety when you see how much information is available on some others. I've also made all three sites consistent and used the satellite image. All three systems load to a different default screen, which may give a change to your preference, but they're all customizable to use whichever map you like. Now I'm going to start with Cloud RF, and I'm going to run a simulation here tonight, and I'm going to run the same simulation on all three, and I'm going to run it on an Australian location. Because remembering, we don't have a network to leverage off. When we get to RF, Hotspot RF and Helium Vision, I will duck across to the other side of the globe and have a look at maybe Europe for a change. Give the US a rest and have a look at Europe, and let's maybe run a simulation in Europe so you can see the benefit of some of those other tools that you have to go with. All right, now I happen to know that there are a bunch of based on information that I'm seeing in forums, anyway, on Facebook pages and our Australian Helium forums, that there are a few people that are going to be planning on placing hotspots over here in, I'm going to class it as the Kenmore area. Okay, so if any of the Queenslanders are watching and you happen to be the person that has a unit over in Kenmore, then guess what? You're going to be getting some free simulations here, albeit that they're not going to be specific for your street because I don't know where you are. But let's have a look here. Let's zoom in and let's assume for a moment that the location that you live is right here at Moggle Road, at whatever this place is here. I don't know if it's a house, and it doesn't look like a. Oh, it could actually be a house. All right, so let's. We're going to be simulating that this is the house. All we need to do is first of all click on the map. That tells Cloud RF where you want to search. Now we come down here and we say the first bit of information that we're wanting to choose. I'm going to actually change that name there so I can look back to these results afterwards. I'm going to say Moggle Road. And this is just so that I can find it after all in my results, because all three systems do allow you to download your map and then load that up onto Google Earth, which is fantastic because then you can zoom around and punch in and punch out and load various layers. It's terrific. All right, so we've given it a name and we've clicked on the map. We've told it where. Okay, how high is our antenna? We're going to say that we have a 2-meter antenna that we're going to be working with, and we'll do a consistent search across all three systems here and see if we get comparable results. Our frequencies is 915. Our power wattage, we'll leave that at 0.5. And incidentally, it's it's going to be very interesting to see, because in the US, the 915 megahertz range is, I believe, limited to 0.5 of a watt, whilst in Australia we have a maximum power of 1 watt. So we have an allowable legal power output of double what the US has. I don't know if they're going to modify our helium miners to increase the wattage. I'm not sure, but anyway, we'll leave it at 0.5 just to have consistency. Bandwidth, we'll leave where we are. We're going to assume 0 loss, so even though there may be some loss to coax, just for the sake of simplicity, we'll leave that where it is. Now we come down and we see what gain is our antenna. Now I'm a big advocate of using a 3 dBi external antenna. Okay, I really do not see the benefits, and actually we're running a simulation. I'll wait until we've completed this one. I'll run a simulation where we test exactly the same map, a 3 dBi, exactly the same, but we'll increase it to 5.8 and then an 8 dBi, and you'll see just what minimal difference it makes. So increasing your dBi, unless you've got a very specific reason to do that, is almost a waste of time in every case. All right, moving down. The receiving height. All right, so this is basically how high are we assuming that the receivers will be on the other end. We'll assume a height of 1 meter. We'll assume that they're using a 3 dBi antenna as well. We'll come down here and we will say that it is soft. This is the clutter. It's basically how much clutter is around you. There's two options here: hard line of sight, soft line of sight, and then you can change this to basically reflect. There is a tutorial on the website here if you want to have a look at that. I already know that it's very light in this area, so I'm going to leave that as light. And I can't recall now how far out I can search with the other two, but I will leave it at 20. All right, let's run our simulation and see what we come up with here for Moggle Road. How interesting to see how far will this person reach. I wonder if they will be able to reach me where I am in the southern suburbs. I don't think so, especially actually not with an antenna mounted that high. They won't be able to reach me, I'm afraid. I wish they could. I am mounting my antenna very high, so you never know, remembering that it takes both sides to affect here. All right, so we zoom in here and we have a look, and we can see with a 3 dB antenna mounted at a 2 meter height outside, this is the likely range. And as we move our mouse around the screen, it'll tell you how far out we are. So that's 1.5 kilometers. Down this way, we stretch all the way out to 3 kilometers. To the west, we can go out 2 kilometers, but to the north, we can only go out about half a kilometer. So what does this tell you? Well, it tells you that we're on a hill, and we're actually sitting on at the base of a hill, which this particular region of Brisbane is. So these results do not surprise me at all. Now let's go over to our hotspot portal, and here we are. Now we'll zoom into our same location, and we will see how. Okay, so here is our locations. So we're going to run exactly the same simulation here at this. So we're going to go down to our radio frequency settings. We're going to click on our map because that's where we're building from. All right, it throws the hexagons over the top of it, which allows us to maximize our helium or our HNT based on the reward scale. Now, because we have no units in Australia, it's going to be green. It's going to be number 1. All right, we're going to go down to Australia 915. We've got our 3 dBi antenna. We're going to put our cable loss as 0 just to maintain consistency. Now, hotspot RF only works in feet. 2 meters is, okay, we'll do 6.5 meters. We will say that it is in the suburbs, which it is, and we will simulate location. Let's see what we come up with here using the hotspot RF. Okay, alrighty, so I can see our map starting to come up and see what the variance is. Okay, alrighty, so according to hotspot RF, that's how far we can reach. So let's have a look up here. We'll go up the river. Let's see how consistent that is. Yeah, you know, that's actually pretty good, isn't it? Those values are almost exactly the same. You know, some slight variations here up Kenmore Plaza, which is, I think, probably over, it's probably up these areas. So, you know, it doesn't show us hitting. But besides that, it's largely exactly the same. So, great. Across the river also is maybe not showing as much coverage, but largely the same. All right, now let's have a look at helium vision. Helium vision, let's find our street again. Here we go. Now I must say I'm not as familiar with helium vision as I am with the other two units. So let's see if I can figure this out. We click on that. That's going to tell it where we want to put it. We're going to run our simulation, and we'll say we'll go out to 5 kilometers. Oops, no, we don't need that far. Okay, well, there we go. We'll leave that there. It is Australia. Now the RF simulations here, let's see what that is showing us. 5 meters. Okay, height above the ground. Let's make sure that's consistent. So that is 2 meters. That's 2 meters. And our gain antenna is a 3 dBi. Suburban mixed would be pretty accurate. Okay, so there we go. Let's have a look and see how we go with this simulation. See if there is any difference here. Okay, all right. Let's just have a look here, side by side. All right, there's significant difference here on the southern side of the river. Yeah, but largely what this doesn't show us here. Now, this particular tool does have a lot of additional functionality that Hotspot RF does not have. It does have a distance between points and shows is there any elevation which is going to stop. It's a line of sight tool. Likewise, Cloud RF also has that feature. We won't dwell into that. Now, also what it seems to be showing here, which doesn't seem to be totally accurate from my perspective, is it's showing that we reach much further up the hill than what we did with our other two simulations, remembering that we are actually sitting at the base of a hill here, and these two maps suggest that that's about as far as we're going to get, but Helium Vision suggests that we're going a whole lot further up the hill. I'm just checking my details were exactly the same here. Radius 5 meters. Now maybe that's what it was. Maybe the radius. No, see, I was searching at 20 kilometers there, so that shouldn't make any difference. Okay, so look, it's just one of those variations here. Remembering that none of the sites here guarantee that you're going to reach anywhere. All they're doing is they're running a formula based on physics and well-known radio frequency formulas, and comparing that against the topography of the Earth, and it's giving you a calculation. So there's our 3 sites side by side. Now let me, at that point now, I'm going to just go back here to our PowerPoint for a second and say, remember, what did I say right back at the start? All of the sites will do the same thing. They all remove the guesswork. They will all allow you to maximize your return on investment by identifying your area, and they allow you to test your setups. The accuracy of them is really still to be questioned. So remember, do your own research with these things. And the great thing is you've got a free trial on the two Helium type programs. Alrighty, well, I think that's about all for this video. It's actually gone quite long, and I'm hoping that you got something out of it. Remember, hit up the likes, subscribe to the channel. I will be doing a lot of Helium content as we roll on. Have a good night. Cheers from down under.